In a time long past, when magic and myth walked hand in hand, there was a land plagued by a terrible curse. The townspeople lived in constant fear, their skies perpetually darkened by the wings of a monstrous dragon. This beast, whose scales shimmered like molten gold and eyes burned with unholy fire, nested by the city's only source of fresh water. Each day, the dragon demanded a human sacrifice in exchange for allowing the people to draw water from the spring. The people had no choice but to comply, for without water, their crops would wither and their children would die of thirst. The dragon's reign of terror began subtly, with the occasional missing sheep or cow. Farmers found their livestock vanishing, the only evidence being charred bones or feathers. Soon, it escalated to human victims. At first, it was lone travelers and shepherds, people who could be explained away as having wandered off or fallen into some misfortune. But soon, the dragon grew bolder, descending upon villages, snatching people from their homes, and leaving behind scorched earth and despair. As the sacrifices continued, the townspeople grew more desperate. The king, a noble ruler whose heart ached for his suffering people, tried everything within his power to rid the land of the dragon. He sent his bravest knights, but none returned. Each one fell to the dragon's fiery breath and razor-sharp claws. With each passing day, hope dwindled further, until it was nearly extinguished. The people's terror turned into a ritualistic acceptance. They drew lots to decide who would be sacrificed next, a grim lottery of survival. Every household lived in fear of their lot being drawn. Fathers dreaded having to offer their daughters, mothers wept for their sons. The ritual became an unbearable routine, the grief and fear permeating every aspect of their lives. One fateful day, the king's own daughter, the beautiful and kind-hearted Princess Sabra, was chosen as the dragon's next victim. The announcement of her lot being drawn sent shockwaves through the city. The townspeople, already broken in spirit, were now crushed under the weight of their collective grief. The king was inconsolable, his heart shattered by the knowledge that he was powerless to save his beloved daughter. The night before the sacrifice, the palace was a place of mourning. Princess Sabra, understanding her duty, tried to console her parents.
"Father, mother, do not weep for me,"
she said, her voice calm despite the fear in her heart.
"If my death can spare the lives of our people, then I go willingly."
Her bravery was a balm to her parents' anguish, though it did little to alleviate their sorrow. As dawn broke, the princess was dressed in a white gown, symbolizing her purity and innocence. The townspeople gathered in silence, their hearts heavy with the impending loss. The procession to the dragon's lair was somber, the only sounds being the muffled sobs and the rustling of her gown. The king, unable to bear the sight of his daughter walking to her death, remained in the palace, cloaked in despair. As Princess Sabra reached the dragon's lair, she knelt by the spring, her heart heavy with sorrow. She prayed for a miracle, knowing that only divine intervention could save her now. As if in response to her prayers, a distant figure appeared on the horizon, a knight in shining armor riding a magnificent white steed. The knight's banner, emblazoned with a red cross on a white background, fluttered in the wind. This knight was none other than George of Cappadocia, a soldier of the Roman army who had recently converted to Christianity. George had heard of the town's plight during his travels and had come to offer his aid. As he approached the spring, he saw the princess and the monstrous dragon poised to strike. Without a moment's hesitation, he drew his sword and charged at the beast. George was no ordinary knight. His journey to this moment had been fraught with trials and tribulations that had tempered his courage and faith. Born into a noble family in Cappadocia, he was raised with the virtues of bravery and justice. His father, Gεώργιος, a respected officer in the Roman army, had instilled in him a sense of duty and honor. After his father's untimely death, George and his mother, Polychronia, moved to her native Lydda, where he continued his upbringing. George joined the Roman army, quickly rising through the ranks due to his prowess in battle and his unwavering integrity. However, it was his conversion to Christianity that truly defined his path. The teachings of Christ resonated deeply within him, offering a path of righteousness and compassion that contrasted sharply with the brutality of his military life. The battle between George and the dragon was fierce and relentless. The dragon roared, spewing fire and smoke, its claws slashing through the air with deadly precision, sword gleaming in the dragon's fiery breath. The townspeople watched from a distance, their hearts pounding with fear and hope. Each clash of sword against scale echoed through the valley, a testament to the knight's bravery and the dragon's fury. George's heart pounded as he faced the dragon, its monstrous form towering above him. The dragon's breath was hot and foul, its eyes burning with a malevolent intelligence. George knew that this was no ordinary beast, it was a manifestation of pure evil, a test of his faith and courage. He whispered a prayer, seeking strength and guidance, and then charged forward. The dragon lunged, its massive jaws snapping shut inches from George's face. He dodged to the side, slashing at its flank. His sword glanced off the thick scales, barely making a mark. The dragon roared in fury, its tail whipping around to knock him off his feet. George rolled to avoid the blow, his mind racing to find a strategy. He realized that brute strength alone would not defeat the dragon. He needed to find its weak spot, a vulnerability that he could exploit. Circling the beast, he observed its movements, looking for any sign of weakness. The dragon's underbelly, less armored than the rest of its body, seemed to be the key. Summoning all his courage, George waited for the right moment. The dragon reared back, preparing to unleash another torrent of fire. Seizing the opportunity, George dove beneath the beast, plunging his sword into its soft underbelly. The dragon let out a final, earth-shaking roar before collapsing to the ground, its life force extinguished. The sky, once darkened by the dragon's presence, began to clear, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of freedom and hope. After a fierce and exhausting struggle, George found an opening. With a mighty thrust, he drove his sword deep into the dragon's heart. The beast let out a final, earth-shaking roar before collapsing to the ground, its life force extinguished. The sky, once darkened by the dragon's presence, began to clear, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of freedom and hope. The townspeople erupted in joyous celebration. They rushed to the spring, where George stood with the princess, his armor covered in the dragon's blood but his spirit unbroken. Princess Sabra, with tears of gratitude in her eyes, knelt before her savior. George, ever humble, lifted her to her feet and assured her that it was through God's grace and not his own strength that the dragon was defeated. The king, overwhelmed with gratitude, offered George treasures and titles, but the knight declined. Instead, George spoke of the Christian faith and the love of Christ, who had given him the strength to overcome the dragon. Inspired by his words and the miraculous deliverance, the entire town, including the king, converted to Christianity. A church was built on the site where the dragon had been slain, and it became a place of pilgrimage and worship. The king's conversion marked a turning point for the kingdom. The teachings of Christianity brought a new era of compassion, justice, and hope. The people, once living in fear and despair, found solace in their newfound faith. George's act of heroism became a symbol of the power of faith and the triumph of good over evil.
Saint George, also known as George of Lydda, was born around 280 AD in Cappadocia, modern-day Turkey. He was born to a Greek Christian noble family, and his father, Gεώργιος, was a Roman army official. His mother, Polychronia, was from Lydda, now Lod in modern Israel, and after the death of her husband, she returned there with her son. George followed in his father's footsteps and joined the Roman army, rising to the rank of tribune due to his skill and bravery. Unlike the mythical elements of dragon slaying, historical accounts suggest that George's life was marked by his unwavering faith during the reign of Emperor Diocletian. Known for his harsh persecution of Christians, George openly defied the imperial edicts against Christians. He protested the persecution, giving away his wealth to the poor and freeing his slaves. This act of defiance led to his arrest and torture. George's refusal to renounce his faith, despite enduring severe torture, exemplified his extraordinary courage. His steadfastness in the face of suffering inspired many, and his martyrdom on April 23, 303 AD, became a powerful symbol of faith and resilience. His story spread throughout the Christian world, evolving into the legend that would inspire generations. In the years that followed, George's story spread across the Christian world. The red cross on a white background, which he had borne in his battle against the dragon, became a symbol of his sacrifice and valor. During the medieval period, this emblem was adopted by crusaders who ventured to the Holy Land. The cross of St. George became a beacon of Christian solidarity and a reminder of the virtues of bravery and faith. The Republic of Genoa, a powerful maritime city-state, also adopted the cross of St. George. Their ships, flying the red cross on a white background, were feared and respected across the Mediterranean. English ships, seeking protection from Genoa's fleets, began to fly the same cross, further cementing the association between St. George and the emblem. In England, St. George's legend resonated deeply. King Edward III, inspired by the tales of George's heroism and faith, established the Order of the Garter in 1348. With St. George as its patron, this order became the highest and most prestigious order of knighthood in England, celebrating the ideals of chivalry, honor, and courage. St. George's Day, celebrated on April 23rd, became a national holiday in England. The Red Cross of St. George was emblazoned on the banners and shields of English soldiers, symbolizing their commitment to fight for righteousness and their homeland. Over time, St. George supplanted earlier patron saints such as St. Edmund, becoming the primary symbol of English national identity. Today, the Cross of St. George remains a powerful symbol of England. It is prominently featured in the Union Jack, the flag of the United Kingdom, and serves as a reminder of the enduring values of bravery, honor, and faith. The story of St. George and the Dragon continues to inspire, a timeless tale of a hero who, through faith and courage, triumphed over evil. The legend of St. George and his cross is a testament to the enduring power of myth and the way it shapes cultural and national identity. It is a story that transcends time, blending history and legend into a narrative that speaks to the core of human values. From the early Christian martyrdom to the dragon-slaying hero and the patron saint of England, St. George's story is a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. To distinguish St. George's historical origins from the legendary narratives, it's essential to delve deeper into his life and the evolution of his myth. St. George was born in the late 3rd century AD in Cappadocia, which was part of the Roman Empire. His parents were devout Christians, and his father held a prestigious position in the Roman military. This background provided George with both a strong foundation in the Christian faith and the skills necessary for a military career. George's career in the Roman army saw him rise to the rank of tribune. His duties included leading soldiers and maintaining order within the empire. However, his most defining moment came during the Great Persecution under Emperor Diocletian. Diocletian, intent on eradicating Christianity, issued edicts demanding that Christians renounce their faith and sacrifice to the Roman gods. George, steadfast in his beliefs, refused to comply with these edicts. His defiance was not a mere act of rebellion, but a profound declaration of faith. He distributed his wealth to the poor and freed his slaves, actions that symbolized his commitment to Christian teachings. His arrest and subsequent torture were meant to serve as a deterrent to other Christians, but instead, George's unwavering faith inspired many. George was executed on April 23, 303 AD. His martyrdom was witnessed by many, and stories of his courage and faith spread quickly. Early Christian communities venerated him as a martyr, and his story was recorded in various texts and hagiographies. The transformation of George's story from a historical martyr to a legendary dragon slayer began in the early medieval period. The earliest versions of the dragon-slaying legend appeared in the Eastern Christian tradition, where George was depicted as a protector of the oppressed and a champion of faith. By the time the legend reached Western Europe, it had evolved considerably. The dragon-slaying aspect became the central element of the narrative, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil and the victory of faith over paganism. This transformation was influenced by various cultural and literary traditions, including the tales of chivalry and heroism popular in medieval Europe. The incorporation of the dragon into St. George's story added a dramatic and fantastical element that captivated audiences. The dragon, representing chaos and destruction, was a fitting adversary for a saint whose life was marked by courage and faith. The image of George on horseback, lance in hand, striking down the dragon, became a powerful symbol of Christian valor. The Crusades played a significant role in cementing St. George's status as a heroic figure. Crusaders, who ventured to the Holy Land to reclaim it from Muslim control, adopted St. George as a patron. His image adorned their banners, shields, and armor, symbolizing their commitment to their faith and their mission. The red cross on a white background, known as the Cross of St. George, became synonymous with the Crusader spirit of valor and religious fervor. During the First Crusade, tales of St. George's miraculous appearances on the battlefield further bolstered his legend. Crusaders reported seeing the saint leading them to victory, his image inspiring courage and determination. These stories spread rapidly, reinforcing St. George's status as a divine protector and warrior saint. St. George's association with England began to take shape during the reign of King Edward III in the 14th century, inspired by the ideals of chivalry and the legendary tales of George's heroism. Edward III established the Order of the Garter in 1348, with St. George as its patron. The order was dedicated to promoting chivalric values and the defense of the realm, embodying the spirit of St. George's legend. St. George's Day, celebrated on April 23rd, became an important national holiday in England. The day was marked by feasts, processions, and tournaments, all celebrating the virtues of bravery, honor, and faith that St. George represented. The red cross of St. George was prominently displayed, symbolizing the unity and strength of the English people. The legend of St. George continued to grow, with writers and poets adding their own embellishments to the story. By the time of the Renaissance, St. George was firmly established as England's patron saint, his image and legend woven into the fabric of English culture and identity. The legacy of St. George and his cross endures to this day. The cross of St. George remains a powerful symbol of England, featured prominently in the Union Jack, the flag of the United Kingdom. St. George's Day is still celebrated, and the values he represents, courage, faith, and the triumph of good over evil, continue to resonate. St. George's story has transcended its origins, becoming a universal tale of heroism and faith. It has inspired countless adaptations in literature, art, and popular culture, each retelling adding new dimensions to the legend. From medieval manuscripts to modern films and books, the image of St. George slaying the dragon remains a potent symbol of hope and resilience. To fully appreciate the legend of St. George, it is important to distinguish between the historical facts and the legendary embellishments. St. George's existence as a Christian martyr during the reign of Emperor Diocletian is well documented. His unwavering faith and martyrdom made him a revered figure in early Christian communities. The dragon-slaying legend, however, is a product of medieval imagination and storytelling. It reflects the cultural and religious values of the time, with the dragon symbolizing evil and paganism, and George representing Christian virtue and heroism. The legend evolved through oral traditions and literary adaptations, each adding new elements to the story. Despite the mythical aspects, the core of St. George's legend, his bravery, faith, and selflessness, remains rooted in his historical martyrdom. The dragon-slaying tale, while fictional, serves as an allegory for his triumph over the challenges and persecutions he faced. It elevates his story to a timeless narrative that continues to inspire and captivate audiences. The legend of St. George and his cross is a testament to the enduring power of myth and history. It illustrates how a historical figure's life and deeds can be transformed into a legendary narrative that transcends time and culture. The story of St. George, blending historical fact with legendary fiction, speaks to universal themes of courage, faith, and the struggle between good and evil. As we celebrate the legacy of St. George, we honor not just the historical martyr, but also the timeless hero who embodies the best of human virtues. His story reminds us of the power of faith and the enduring impact of legends in shaping our cultural and national identity. Whether as a historical figure or a legendary hero, St. George continues to inspire and uplift, his red cross a beacon of hope and resilience for generations to come.